What is up, everybody? It's college football again. Big week yesterday. This is Hater Radio. My name is Chris McLean. I'm not here with Ian Gibson tonight. We may not be able to have Ian for the recap show. I don't know. We may work something out, but at least we have some kind of recap show. And I like to do the recap show on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, just to keep a standard, along with the Wednesday 8 p.m. show as well, because just get, more followers that way. If you're constantly putting the show out at the exact same time, there's going to be more people out there. It's not working out right now with having Ian on Sundays, but we'll make do, and hopefully, in the future we can get that going. I'm not going to hold it against him. He's got other things going on, so I'm not going to, be a dick about it. It just is what it is. But I'm just letting you guys know. But, he'll be here throughout the year for the preview shows every Wednesdays, hopefully. So with that being said, again, my name is Chris McLean. I'm the host of the show. You can reach us at haterradio.com for all of our articles, which we had a article on the game, the Florida-Tennessee game, with talking about just a little bit about the direction of where we were going with Billy Napier. It looks like as of right now, it seems to be going in the right direction. We'll get into that more as we go on into the show. But, the article did pretty well. We're getting a lot of good views on YouTube, so we're doing quite well there. We're pretty happy with how things are going. So as far as the show is, we're all about college football. We do a recap show on the Sunday after all the games, and then we do a preview show on the Wednesday before the games happen in the following weekend. So with that being said, let's do the recap show. The teams we follow Florida Gators, we follow USF Bulls, we follow UCLA Bruins, and we follow USC Trojans. So USC was off this week. But first and foremost, I want to talk about the biggest game of the week, which was the Florida Gators and the Tennessee Volunteers. So huge game, just a tremendous atmosphere at the Swamp. I wish I was there. I was talking about going for a little while, but I decided against it. The reason being, the last time I went to a Tennessee game, which was in 2003, yes, that 2003, the last time Tennessee has won in the Swamp. And so I was like, you know what? I haven't gone back since then, and I've had opportunities to go, and I just decided not to. And this time I definitely had an opportunity to go, and I decided not to as well, with the streak in mind. So as that going forward, I will not go to a Tennessee-Florida game until Tennessee finally beats Florida. I will let the streak continue until I die if I have to, because I will rather see Florida continue to win in this series at home against Tennessee. And if it means me not going to the game, so be it. I will do my part. With that being said, just a tremendous game. The first half was just a barnstorming. They missed that field goal to begin the first drive, and it was a good drive. Trey Wilson looked great. He got hurt at the end of the drive. Looks like something that he might be fine with, but it looked like it could have been worse because it looked bad, but he was held out the rest of the game. But the run game was just, oh man, it was just a tremendous showing by both Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne. But Etienne obviously went off. He had over 175 yards, a TD, and just a massive run that started the scoring for Florida, that put them, on pace, and they just kept scoring in that first half, and Tennessee really couldn't keep pace at all. And so, Florida went out to that lead. The defense kept them in check. They had one good drive to begin the game and then kind of stalled the rest of the first half, largely to do with Florida's defense keeping the run game in check. They were, plugging holes. Scooby Williams had a great game. Shamar James had a great game. The D-line was tremendous. A lot of pressure on Milton all game long. Princely was amazing. Cam Jackson had a really good game. Banks, just Sapp. I mean, so many guys just did their job tremendously and put forth such a great effort that, it made the difference. DBs had an okay game. I know that a couple of times the Tennessee receivers got downfield and had some big receptions. But besides that, honestly, they did their jobs. The big interception there in the second quarter that, was not only just because I heard Herbstreit say it was like a punt. Well, it would have been a punt if it was just returned a few yards, but the Devin Moore returned it almost to the 20 and then tacked on with a foul, a personal foul as well, that got it into first and goal situation. And, Florida was able to capitalize and score right there. And the game was just, at that point, by halftime, it was 26-7. Mertz had some issues with a laceration to, I believe, his right hand, and then some issues with his left hand. So he was struggling with his, some injuries there, and they limited the passing game in the second half. The Tennessee defense stepped up a little bit there to keep them in the game. But the play calling by Florida was definitely conservative. It worked out. They did have the one scoring drive where they got the field goal because it kept it at 3 scores. I think even a touchdown there probably keeps it at 3 scores anyway. So it wasn't that big of a deal of not getting the touchdown there. I think it went from 16 to 19. So if it goes 16 to, I believe, 23, I think that's still technically 3 scores. Yeah, because that's still, what is it? That's 2 2-point conversions in there and a touchdown. So it's still technically within the math that it would be 3 scores regardless. So 3 scores, 3 possessions, the field goal was huge. It really did come in handy because Tennessee did score later, and then they had the ball with about 2 minutes left and, was able to get further down, and Florida got the stop. A lot of stops by Florida in this game. It was tremendous considering the last couple of years where they have struggled to get off the field on third downs. And that has been their biggest problem, is struggling to get off on third downs and not being able to, force the other team to the sideline. And, I thought, it's a tremendous hand by Austin Armstrong by being able to get these guys up to task because, obviously Todd Grantham did a terrible job of getting this team organized and was just a schmuck on wheels, basically. And, and it sucks because it's like there are plenty of guys that have gone through the last couple of years at Florida on defense that have been plenty talented. And, if they just had the right coaching while they were here, maybe they could have, done some things while here. Some of them have been in the NFL now doing well. So it really is kind of remarkable that that they underutilized the talent that they did the last couple of years. But, that goes to saying with how bad Todd Grantham was as a coach. On third downs, Florida kept him about 50%. So it was 8 of 15. Not amazing, but still did pretty well. And then on the ones that they didn't convert that were shorter, they kept them to 0-3 on fourth down, which is huge. So it's technically, what is it? I would say an additional stops. So it's a good percentage regardless. They got off the field more than they normally have, and keeping their run game to only 100 yards was a huge plus in this game. I'm blown away with the defense, and I'm very happy to see what they've done, especially in these first 2 games, because I think, out of anyone in the country, I don't think anyone else has played 2 top 15 teams and won on the road as well. So I think by far Florida's had the hardest schedule, and to come out of it only 1-1 is really good. Like it could have been 0-2, but no, they're 1-1, and now they have the rest of the season to play for them. This is a huge leg up in the SEC East. I'm not going to say that they definitely have a chance at the SEC East, but they definitely are better suited now after winning this game than they were before this game, considering they had lost to Utah and all the momentum was going against them. A lot of people were in the media, especially, were arguing that Billy was on the hot seat allegedly, but I'm like, come on, man, this wasn't even 2 years in. This is like a year and 2 games into his tenure, and we're already saying he should be fired. I never said that. The only thing I've had issues with is maybe the play calling, which I did see in this game. Even on that one play, so one of the sacks that Mertz got sacked, it was the same, 2 tights and 2 receivers out and doing a crossing pattern. And it's like, it's not fooling anyone. I don't know why they continue to do it. I know it was off of play action, so maybe they're hoping to get safeties to bite there. But the tight ends are not running routes, so it's really just 2 guys going out on routes. It's not really that imaginative. Nothing's really going on there. I don't know. It continues to be a staple of the offense. Maybe they should look at that and change that up. But I love the run game planning and what they've been able to scheme up. Obviously Trevor Etienne is killing it right now, and he's doing such a tremendous job. And I'm really excited as how far how well this run game is done. The first game against Utah was a struggle. They only put up I think 30 yards in that first game, and this game they just exploded. They went out for 183 yards on 43 attempts. It was a 4.3 average, which is pretty damn good. And they limited penalties, only 5 penalties, and no turnovers. Huge. That honestly was probably the difference in the game, because the one turnover that Tennessee had, like I said, Florida converted on and got a touchdown. So, and time of possession, because they had the ball so much in the first half, Tennessee barely had the ball. Florida ends up with a 37-minute to 22-minute advantage in the time of possession. Okay, so just great game. Florida wins. Recruiting is obviously doing well, and even last night, a young running back in the 2025 class committed, and he's a stud from Florida. And look, it's building on itself. There's a lot to be happy about. I know obviously the play calling is a struggle, and special teams was an issue again. I think they saw on one of the field goal blocks there was only 10 guys, and there was also a field goal that Mihalik missed, and an extra point that he got blocked. They ended up putting Trace Mack in. He hit his field goals in extra points, so maybe Trace Mack is going to be the guy going forward. I was very upset with Mihalik the last couple of games, because it's really, he is the short distance field goal kicker, because he was more accurate in those shorter field goals. He had been missing. I think he went 1 for 2 since this, or 1 for 3 since the start of the season, and it just it needed to change. I'm glad Billy saw that and decided to do it. He pulled the trigger, and Trey obviously came through in the clutch. That, like I said, that field goal was huge, because it puts it at a 3-score game. If they had not hit that field goal, and then Tennessee scores and gets it into a 1-score game, maybe there's a lot more game pressure there on Florida, and you never know what happens in there in that case. So they put the pressure on Tennessee by hitting that field goal and making a difference there. Okay, so moving forward, I'm going to talk about the Alabama USF game. Just a crazy game. It was very low scoring, which is a shame, because I wish the offense had showed up, but it was really a slog. It was a rain game. There was a delay. The defense played amazing. They got it to halftime at 3-3, and they kept it a 1-score game into the fourth quarter. I think there was 6 minutes left when Byram had the interception when they were on the 40, heading towards Alabama's end zone. And it's a shame that they couldn't convert on any of these good field positions, or anytime they got inside the 30. They went for it on fourth several times and didn't make it. I believe it was about 5 times. That's what I heard. I'm not for sure. But regardless, I'm proud of these guys. I know that, Alabama is obviously, a very juggernaut, basically, to describe it. And they've been around for 15 years as one of the best teams, if not the best teams, the last 15 years. And they are, because they've had 6 championships in the last 15. So no one even comes close to that. And so, they definitely were, a challenge that they stood up admirably to be able to come into this game. And so they went they went 2 of 6 on fourth downs. Yeah, they did convert one late that helped them drive into position late in that game. But just a tough game to lose. They were there. They were with them the entire game, and they just couldn't take advantage of their position. And the defense, it's night and day from the last couple of years, because the last couple of years they were dead last in all of college football, and now they're they perform admirably, and it looks great for them. Going forward, I'm excited about where this team is going. Alex Golish is not happy with what happened. He wanted he wanted them to get the result that they should have gotten, but they didn't. And going forward, this sets them up for a nice run in the AAC. Let's see if they can really make a difference there with the game against Rice next week. They'll have other opportunities. The AAC is not as good as it has been when Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston all left. And so now it's really ripe for the taking. USF, just really needs to string a couple of wins along. I know they only won one last year, but they're definitely well suited to be able to put themselves in position for more wins this year. And I can see at least a 6-6 season total after what they've done so far this year. But yeah, great job by the guys. The stadium was like 65,000 people there, just tremendous atmosphere. And, I look forward to eventually the on-campus stadium, which should happen soon. And, we're going to get a lot of those crowds and a lot of packed stadiums, going forward. So it's exciting times for USF. This is just the beginning. I know it's not the result that they wanted, but it definitely is opening the door for the future for potential, an AAC run. Okay, moving forward, UCLA, dude. I'm telling you guys, if you have not watched this UCLA team, get ready, because they play tremendous defense, and Dante Moore is probably one of the most exciting freshman QBs out there. I mean, he's a straight stud, just ridiculous, and just throws dimes. It just very adept at running the offense. Carson Steele, a stud running back for UCLA after they lost Charbonneau last year into the draft. So they replenished with running backs. There's some other ones. There was this guy Adkins, just looks like LeGarrette Blount out there, which is fitting since Blount comes from Chip Kelly's offense at Oregon. Just remarkable. This team, I'm telling you, no one is talking about this team at all. They're talking about Colorado, but this is the team that you need to be talking about. UCLA is going to be a team that really comes after people. The defense, that again, Latu with a big interception, set up an early score, and just their defense is it's hard to really calculate if it is as good as it is. I'm going to say it is good, but it's just you have to temper it because of who they played against. Coastal Carolina was a good opponent, and they held them only to 14 points. San Diego State, they kept them in check almost the whole game. North Carolina Central, obviously not a good opponent that only scored 7 late anyways. So they're keeping their numbers way low. Obviously, the opponents can temper that because you don't know how good they really are. They get a lot of opponents coming up, in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see how truly good they are. I believe they will be up to the task, and I can envision a 10-win, possibly 11-win season for UCLA going forward. Okay, going forward, next couple of games. Army UTSA. This is one of Ian's favorite teams, UTSA. He thought they were going to be a real star in the AAC after coming in from, I believe, Conference USA, or I can't remember what conference, but they came from another conference. Now they're in the American Conference, American Athletic Conference, and they played Army. And dude, Army just bullied them the whole time. Their run game looked tremendous, and they were able to take advantage of certain play action and passing plays to be able to take it to them. I'd say Army looks more like a 10-win team than UTSA, but UTSA, I will say they still look pretty good. The offense moved the ball. They're a quick strike offense. So they definitely had some of those plays in the game, and they have the potential to do well in the AAC because, like I said, the AAC has a lot of holes there. But moving on, LSU, Mississippi State, Jaden Daniels, 30 of 34, just tremendous game. I keep using tremendous, amazing game. And Neighbors, Daniels went for 30 of 34, just I think it was like 88% completion percentage or something ridiculous. Neighbors went off for like the most receiving yards ever for a LSU receiver. Just sick numbers. I don't know how good Mississippi State is. They look like an average team, while LSU clearly looks like one of the top 4 teams in the SEC, clearly. And I know that game against FSU has people questioning them. I think if you really look back at that game, there were plenty of opportunities for LSU to score, and they didn't take advantage of it. And that's not to say that they're not a good team. They just had some failings there. They were still able to move the ball quite well against Florida State, and they just came up short. They were still in that game into the fourth quarter, like literally on the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter. Daniels throws an interception, and then FSU goes down and scores to go up 2 scores. So if they had moved the ball and tied the game, anything goes from that point. But LSU, good start to the SEC schedule. Let's see how they do coming up. Obviously, a lot of SEC West games to be had, which are huge roadblocks to a good season. Penn State, Illinois. I don't know. Illinois' offense just not very good, but Penn State did force a lot of those turnovers. Again, a lot of the picks were just terrible throws by the Illinois quarterback. Ton of field goals early for Penn State. They hang on to win. They win pretty comfortably, but just not anything glaring out of this game. Just as far as Penn State continuing on their trek to end up playing Ohio State at the end of the year. Okay. Yeah, because even their stud quarterback, Penn State, only had like 208 yards passing, so it wasn't that tremendous of a game. Kansas State, Missouri, definitely the game of the day. This was a back and forth game. Kansas State definitely is a very good team, and this is a huge win for Missouri. I still am not a big fan of Eli Drinkowitz. I think he is a clown. I think that the shit he said against Florida and Dan Mullen in those last couple of games before Dan Mullen was fired, it bothered me. He did like some bullshit at the end of a half against Trask that was Bush League shit. It wasn't his fault, but his players did some Bush League shit, and they almost fought because of it. Then Dan Mullen wore the Darth Vader mask. It was on Halloween night, and then next year after Dan Mullen was going to get fired, everyone knew he was going to get fired. Eli Drinkowitz wears like the hoodie and like a a lightsaber and like makes a comment. And it's like, dude, man, fuck you, dude. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say it because it was low class shit. Like, why do you have to kick him while he was down? Like, I don't even like Dan Mullen anymore. He's been such a schmuck after leaving Florida and what he left recruiting wise for Florida. But still, to do that, like, it's come on. Why would you even bother? Like, you know he's going to get fired. Why do you have to clap back? Like, it's like a low class move. But anyways, just a great game. You know, the what is it? Burden for Missouri, just a stud. He was a 5-star, and you know, obviously proving it. 2 touchdowns, 114 yards. You know, the game was back and forth. Like I said, you know, Missouri had the ball last, which appeared to be the only reason someone would win is you had the ball last. And their kicker kicks a 61-yarder. I think it's the longest ever in the SEC. Like, that's just ridiculous. 61 yards. I mean, that's the longest NFL, I believe, is 63 or 64. And 61 is like very close to it. And it's outdoors as well. So it's, you know, it's a hell of a long field goal. And it looked good, and it could have been good from a few yards back. So he definitely has the leg. Just a great win for them. I still don't believe in them going forward. You know, they have these 3 wins, and this is a huge win because this is a top 25 team that they beat, but I don't like them in a lot of games, and we'll see how they do. Okay, moving forward, South Carolina, Georgia. You know, I don't believe in this Georgia team either. You know, they're obviously number 1, and they were defending 2-time national champions. I get that. I understand that. But at the same time, they have a lot gone. I don't really love their offense. Bobo doesn't strike fear in most people. You know, Beck had a fine game, but I don't see them being a team that can compete with, you know, a lot of the Pac-12 teams. I don't think they can compete with like a USC team. I don't think they compete with a Texas team that Texas obviously beat Alabama. I don't think they can compete with probably UCLA. I don't think they can compete with Washington because I think Michael Penix Jr. could throw all over them, just like Caleb Williams would, and just like Quinn Ewers would, and just like Dante Moore would. So they, yes, are good in a sense because obviously they have talent on both sides of the field. But as far as like a total package, you know, the defense is good. You know, I don't love South Carolina. They're kind of like an average team. They're probably like at best 7-5, more likely a 6-6 team with already 2 losses. So, you know, it doesn't look good for them for the rest of the year. You know, from this game, what you can take away is Georgia is beatable. They're definitely beatable. And I have an article that I'm going to come out with probably Thursday discussing that a little more regarding the rivals of Georgia and where this team now is currently after these last couple of years where they've been given such an easy road into 1, the SEC championship game, and then 2 into the playoffs. So I'll talk about that when I release the article in next couple of days because I believe they have Auburn coming up as far as in their schedule. No, they have UAB, then Auburn. So it's next week. So next week I'm going to write that article. Okay. But not much to say about this. Just South Carolina was up, you know, moved the ball. And that was a huge difference here in this game where other times Georgia has been able to prevent teams from moving the ball, but they just couldn't convert on certain things. And I will say Georgia's line looked weak and weak enough to where South Carolina, which is not a good defense, was in their backfield. So, okay. Ian's upset of the week. He picked Minnesota to upset North Carolina. Sorry, Ian, didn't work out. And really, only reason Minnesota was in this game early was because of two bad mistakes by Drake May. He threw two bad picks, but then, he recovered, and he's just a beast. Throws for over 200 yards, 400 yards. Just a remarkable game, and they hold Minnesota to 13. I don't think Minnesota's that great. Their offense is kind of putrid. Any SEC or ACC, Big Ten West, Big Ten West team is going to struggle offensively. It's just the only other team that's any good offensively is Purdue, and that's it. 13 points, and North Carolina wins 31-13. So North Carolina, look out. Drake May again. Up there in the Heisman standings. He's going to be one of the better quarterbacks for the rest of the year. Definitely a top 5, maybe top 10, definitely top 10, but maybe a top 5 pick in the NFL draft coming up next year. Talked about Alabama, USF. Dude, Washington, Michigan State. I'm telling you, Michael Penix Jr., know the name. Like, this kid is a stud. Like, just a freak, like left-handed, smooth. Like, his long ball is probably the best long ball in all of college football, and maybe one of the best when he gets to the NFL as well. He's very accurate with long balls, and it's just the kid's sick, man. And he just puts up huge games every week. 473 yards, 4 TDs. Just, he got lucky in one of the plays where it was a deflection that his receiver caught it and walked in. But, he is putting up huge numbers. And this is why I know when other people are talking about Shedeur Sanders and Jordan Travis, those quarterbacks are fine. They have their limitations. But what we really need to be talking about, the better quarterbacks that are out there right now, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix Jr., those 3. Those are the ones that are the studs. I know those other 2 people love to give attention to for whatever reason, but these 3 are the ones that stand out more than anyone. They're accurate. They're amazing at their offenses. They're just difference makers, all 3 of them. They just destroy teams. They're putting up huge chunk plays. They're way better than those other 2. I know those other 2 put up stats as well, but they're nothing like those 3. And even Bo Nix and Quinn Ewers and some others, like, I don't get why the fascination with Shedeur Sanders and Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis is okay. Shedeur Sanders has put up huge numbers, but he's played terrible defenses so far. Wait till he plays the USCs and the Oregons and the UCLAs and all those other teams. It's going to be a way different game. And it's just like the hype, and I'll talk about that Colorado game in a little bit, but just such a difference here. Okay. So, but Washington wins 41-7 against Michigan State, who, without Mel Tucker, we'll see what happens there, but just not looking good for Michigan State. I know they're 2-1, but this loss did not look good. They got blown out. Okay. Georgia Tech, Ole Miss. Interesting game. This actually is a lot closer than the final score. Ole Miss ends up winning 48-23, but Georgia Tech was within 10 points with like 6 or 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So it wasn't that far off. And Haynes King throws for over 307 yards. So they were close in this game. I mean, Jackson Dart, 10 completions, 251 yards. That is freaking 25 yards of the completed pass. That is insanity. And Jackson Dart had 136 yards on the ground. Just, the kid's a freak. He's got a good feel for Lane Kiffin's offense. So it's definitely a team to look at. They've had some a good non-conference games, non-conference opponents. So we'll see going forward where they end up actually in the SEC. It's going to be tough because LSU is a strong game. Alabama's kind of weaker than we thought. But and A&M looks rough too. I guess really the only tough opponent for Ole Miss besides LSU might be Auburn, to say this at this point, and that really is it. So maybe Ole Miss has a good year this year, maybe gets 10 wins potentially. We'll see. So after that, TCU, Houston. TCU rebounded from that heartbreaking loss to Colorado. Defense played better. They held Houston to 13 points. But I also think Houston might not be very good this year. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. Oklahoma smokes Tulsa. I will talk about this Florida State game because I did watch the extended highlights. So basically the entire game of it. And, like I said, Jordan Travis only had 212 yards against a not good BC team that struggled against Holy Cross. Castellanos played tremendously well, kept them in the game, had 400 yards of offense, 95 on the ground. Keon Coleman, nowhere to be found, not a single catch. He bobbled a punt return that could have been costly. BC was in this game the entire time and, really got close at the end. They had a chance. They were moving the ball. They were forced to punt. FSU had the ball. Looked like Boston College was going to get the stop, and then a face mask penalty gave them the first down, and that was the game. So, Florida State looks beatable. Georgia looks beatable. So it's like, as much as you Florida fans were like, oh, this is going to be a tough schedule, all those games on the schedule look very obtainable. And I will say about the only one that doesn't look, it's probably a loss, is the LSU game. That game is, LSU is good this year, and it's going to be in Baton Rouge, so it's going to be a much tougher game than these rest of these games. But, Georgia's a neutral site, and Florida State's at home. Missouri in Columbia, that'll be a tough game. They also have South Carolina on the road as well, and Kentucky too. So there are some tough games, but they, like I said, these games are beatable. These teams are beatable. Kentucky looks beatable. South Carolina does look beatable. They're tough games, but still, as of right now, this Gator team is moving in the right direction. And, I don't think Florida State is a top 3 team. I definitely don't have them in my playoff picks as of right now. As far as the last game I wanted to talk about, 2 games real quick. Notre Dame beating Central Michigan. Feisty game by Central Michigan. Notre Dame wins. I was just going away. 41-17. It was like close, and then Notre Dame just put on a bunch of points at the end. Sam Hartman, again, another huge game, 330 yards passing, and Estime, another huge game, 176 on the ground. So setting up their huge game next week, which we'll talk about on Wednesday with Ohio State in South Bend. We'll look forward to that. And last thing I wanted to talk about, Colorado State. It was a great game. It lived up to the billing, the stupid freaking sunglasses shit and the Norvell coach for Colorado State, throwing shade, using the pun against Deion before the game, and Deion getting all up in arms and giving everyone sunglasses. It hyped up the game a little bit. I thought it was going to be a blowout. I think they were a 24-point favorite. They should have easily won this game, but hats off to Colorado State, stayed with them the entire game. They should have won this game. They were up, I think they were up 28, at least 28-20, maybe even 28-17, I think at one point. And, they had a chance. They were up 28-17 in the fourth quarter I thought they were going to win. When they scored that touchdown, I was like, oh, this is over. But, credit to Colorado to come back. They kicked that field goal, and then they tied it late with like 30 seconds left and get the 2-point conversion. I honestly thought in the first overtime when Colorado State scored, matching Colorado's touchdown, I thought they should have went for 2 right then, because extending this game favored Colorado. I think if they had just put it all on the line on that one play, they had a timeout, I believe. They should have tried. With the game on the line, it's you give your team the opportunity to win the game, and I think that would have been the right call. But he doesn't, kicks the extra point. Colorado scores in the second overtime, gets their 2-point conversion, and then Colorado State failed to score. So, again, temper this, because Colorado ends up playing a lot of difficult teams coming up. They play Oregon soon, next week. They play USC after that. They play UCLA. They play Utah. So they're going to get the gauntlet, okay? Right now, it seems all rosy. All the attention's on them. Prime is this attention hog. He loves this shit. And I get it. I understand it. It's part of the whole spiel. Like, at this point, optics are almost more important in college football than actually what the substance is, because these kids buy into the media blitz anyways, and they buy into all of it, and they go to these schools because of it, because it's, look, they had all these like famous people there. They had game day there, that had Fox's show, Big Noon Kickoff, or whatever the fuck it's called. And, there was a ton of hype for this game. And it was literally an 0-2 or 0-1 Colorado State team coming in to play them. And hats off to them. They have set themselves up for now getting a lot more recruits because of this. A lot of big recruits came in-house for this game. Like I said, temper it, because the gauntlet is coming, and they're more than likely going to lose at least 4 or 5 games. Great year so far, after winning only 1 game, but we'll see going forward. And, Shedeur Sanders is potentially can leave to the NFL this year, so we'll see. He may leave, and that may put a little damper on how things go, because I don't know who he has quarterback-wise coming in, and I don't think that quarterback room is very good without him. And that's the other worry, is like, they keep relying on Sanders. If he goes down, what's going to happen to this team without him? And, Hunter got hurt in this game too, and that's their star player on defense and offense. So they're very thin on this team, like paper thin. They have some good players, but, injuries would decimate this team. It would put them on a slew of losses right away if they lost a bunch of people to injury. But regardless, great game. It was a crazy finish, and storming the field, whatever. I don't really care. It's people do it. I know people were making fun of Florida State last year for storming the field for beating a 6-6 team. I don't. I guess I do probably make fun of it on Twitter, but honestly, in the long run, I don't care. On Twitter, I like just making fun of everything. That's just what I do. That's the personality of the account for Hater Radio. But like, do I really care? I probably don't. It's not like, if kids do it, I mean, the Florida Gators haven't done it in years because they have like great security to prevent it. So, it's not even a reality. It's almost never going to happen because their cops are lined up waiting for the games to end on close ones, and no one's getting down there. But regardless, great week of action. That is the show. My name is Chris McLean. This is Hater Radio. Check with us every Sunday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That is the show. It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, and it's on Twitter Live as well. So all 3 of those formats live. You can catch the show then again on YouTube as well. Reach us on our socials at Hater_Radio for Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. For YouTube, it is at Hater Radio. For Facebook, it is Hater Radio CFB. For articles, look for them on haterradio.com. That's the show, everybody. Check us Wednesday and have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.